Good evening. So, a lot of our viewers keep asking us one question. We see iPhones being assembled in India, but when does the real semiconductor work come from? Well, tonight, that answer may finally be taking shape. Apple is in early talks with India's CG Semi, part of the Murugappa Group, to assemble and package chips for future iPhones at CG Semi's upcoming 7,600 crore rupees OSAT facility in Sanand, Gujarat. And importantly, this is chip packaging, and that distinction matters more than most people realize. So, as we move into the depths of this development, here's what we know so far. CG Semi is setting up a large OSAT plant. OSAT stands for Outsourced Semiconductor Assembly and Test. And of course, Apple is evaluating whether select iPhone chips can be assembled and packaged in India at this Sanand facility, which means this would be the first time Apple seriously evaluates Indian OSAT capacity for its core product line. Apple has not confirmed anything yet. CG Semi has not denied the discussions, and that's exactly how Apple moves before a major supply chain shift. So let's be very clear. Chip packaging is where semiconductor maturity is built. This is where yield discipline is enforced, reliability is tested at scale, thermal performance is tuned, failure rates are measured, and if IP handling standards are proven, in fact, analysts will tell you this: if you can meet Apple's packaging standards, you can meet anyone's. And of course, Apple does not compromise here. Packaging failures mean recalls. Recalls mean reputational damage. So Apple only trusts very few OSAT partners globally. And India even being considered is the signal. So if you've been watching Front Page, which I'm sure you have been, this did not come out of nowhere because we told you this earlier. Apple has expanded from 2 iPhone factories to a 40 supplier, 8-state network across India, from Tamil Nadu, Karnataka to Gujarat, Maharashtra, Kerala, Haryana, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh. And of course, now that I've covered all of these states, and I would like to, of course, reach out to a lot of the other people watching from all the other states, please like, share, and subscribe. Now, of course, back to Apple. This was Apple moving up the value chain. First, assembly, then components, then equipment. Now, semiconductor packaging. And you know what? Interestingly, this is exactly how China scaled over 2 decades. India is compressing that timeline, and that too dramatically. Sanand is not a coincidence. Gujarat is fast becoming India's semiconductor logistics spine. OSAT capacity, component manufacturing, strong port connectivity, policy stability, and proximity to Apple suppliers like Hindalco, packaging plants which need tight ecosystem integration, metals, substrates, clean logistics. Sanand gives Apple all of that. And I'm pretty sure Donald Trump would be very, very happy to hear this because as India-US tariff negotiations tighten, Apple routing more high-value chip packaging to India gives Washington a very rare win. Now, of course, reduced China exposure, tariff risk hedging, and leverage in keeping iPhone supply chains politically friendly without forcing Apple to fully reshore manufacturing. Anyway, Apple's strategy today is driven by 4 forces, which are the China slowdown, supply chain concentration risk, US-China trade tensions, and tariff uncertainty. So India is no longer plan B. India is plan A with redundancy built in. And that's why Apple produced $22 billion worth of iPhones in India in fiscal year 2025. Over 80% were exported. So fiscal year 2026 is expected to cross $25 billion worth in packaging if India means, which means this: higher domestic value addition, better control over global supply shocks, and deeper integration into Apple's global chip flow. India already designs chips. India already builds supercomputers. India is building its own CPUs, GPUs, and accelerators. But OSAT is where industrial semiconductor credibility is truly earned. And if Apple comes in, even partially, three things happen overnight, which is Indian OSAT standards jump to global benchmarks. Other customers follow Apple's validation, and India becomes indispensable and showcases how ecosystems lock in. And of course, in conclusion, as always, the front page take. So if assembly made India relevant and components made India competitive, chip packaging makes India unavoidable. Apple testing Indian OSAT capacity is not a deal yet, but it is a vote of confidence in India's semiconductor maturity. And this is how Made in India quietly becomes trusted by the world. Of course, we at Front Page will track every move, every signal, every confirmation right here, as we always do. This is Front Page by AIM Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. And always remember, think AI, think AIM.